Hello, everyone. This is Star Zenith 33, Laura Francesca, here on Valentine's that I am podcasting. And I hope everybody is just having a fabulous Valentine's Day with your loved ones, with your pets. Okay. It's not just about having a partner, but it is also about loving yourself, the things you're doing for yourself. It is loving your pets, like I said, just doing things that are going to make you feel good. Okay. And so I actually have a chocolate in front of me. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but I'm going to be eating this Godiva chocolate that I bought today. So, oh my God, it tastes so good. It's very rich and chocolatey. Really quality chocolate. I don't know where Godiva chocolate is from. Is it from San Francisco or something? I don't know. One second. Oh my God, it's so good. Okay, so let's head on to the ASTROWEATHER, which is so exciting. So now we are here. And as I had mentioned, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I am here at my podcast room, and I'm going to be talking about the ASTROWEATHER and what the heck is going on. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of shifts going on. And I'm trying to get caught up with the whole transits and everything because, I'm just jumping in there. And, now we're going full throttle on Podbean here, which you can also hear it on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and other platforms. And, you can hear it in different platforms. And YouTube, I do have to say also, I'm also on YouTube. You go to YouTube and you can hear it. So, you won't see the video, but you can hear it in YouTube. So I'm just excited for these new cycles that are entering. We already have Neptune and Saturn that just entered in the sign of Aries. And I also, I'm going to be talking about a little bit of storytelling, okay? Yesterday, as soon as Saturn entered Aries, I said, well, I'm going to get out of the house because Aries has to do with travel, right? And it has to do with military. It has to do with Mars and action, right? It has to do with working out, all of that. And so it's already entered in Neptune. Okay. So we're not going to see Pisces no more. Thank God. Because, and I say thank God because with Pisces, it was more about like drugs and alcoholism, overindulgence in that, right? And, it's so interesting because that's when the whole cannabis was introduced. And so, there was a lot of locations of cannabis. I'm not against it. I mean, if that's, a lot of people smoke it because they want to heal themselves because a lot of it, I guess it heals the pain. You might have like a surgery or you go through pain in some kind of way, and so you smoke weed, right, which is cannabis. And this is why they have made a lot of products that have cannabis in there, like ointments and stuff like that. And I do feel that I haven't took it, but I know people that have taken it, like in it comes like in creams and lotions, and but it is expensive. I do have to say it's really pricey, but they say it works, And so in Neptune and Pisces, a lot of that was introduced, like drugs. A lot of times you probably were taking a lot of drugs, okay, or medicine and so forth, because that rules Pisces. That rules the 12th house. That rules the numbing house. The 12th house would be where you're numb, where you have to go to sleep, where you're in hospitals, incarcerations as well. And so it also rules everything that's hidden, or where you hide out, where you don't come out. You're probably dealing with a lot of 12th house stuff like that. And so, and that rules Pisces. So now with Aries, okay, which we're not going to see it again in Pisces, okay? It left forever. And it's been there, it was there for a long, long time. I think from 2008, I believe. It was there like for 14 years. And now it's in Aries, and now we're going to see a whole different side of Neptune, okay, which it dissolves, okay, which means that we're going to see more revelations happening. And it's not about, with military, it's not about being like tough and like competing or getting into fights or anything like that, because it dissolves in Neptune. Okay, Neptune is water, is liquid, and in Aries, water and fire, it's gonna create, I would say, smoke or something, or water like rain, and so, with Neptune and Aries, it's way different than what it was in Pisces, okay? We're going to start seeing more of the heroism, okay? People being heroes and rescuing people and so forth. And so on the first day that it entered, which was yesterday, I said, you know what? I'm going to get out of the house because I was feeling very antsy. Like, I need to get out of the house. I need to go somewhere, And so I went to the shopping center where I always go, where I buy my organic food, right? Because my mom was craving for some, she was craving for some spaghetti. And the only thing we needed was ground meat, right? And I don't buy my ground meat here local. I buy it in the bougie area where all my organic and my organic markets are and stuff. And so, and it's also very inexpensive as well, which is so weird, right? It's so inexpensive, really great price, and it's organic and so forth. So, and when it comes to meat, I'm very icky, like very picky and stuff like that. Like, I don't just buy any kind of meat, it has to be organic and like the butcher style. So I went up there because I wanted to buy some fruits as well, and wanted to buy some sushi as well. I buy all my sushi up there. So, and it's not that far, it's not really that far. So, it's just up the hill. And so I bought that. And then while I was there, I seen this homeless American man, right? He looked kind of like my age, though. He was not really like old or nothing. And he was just homeless, you know how you see some good looking people, like they're good looking, but then they're homeless, and you're like, what happened? What? And I could tell he was not even all there because he kind of seemed like he was attractive, but he was just poor and homeless. And, but I think he was not all there in the head either because he kept talking to himself. A lot of those could be like military they come like sick, you know. I don't know what is that name. It's not ADHD. There's some kind of syndrome that they have, where they come like all messed up from the military and stuff, and they need therapy and so forth. Especially if you were like and I know this because I used to work with this one guy in corporate, and he served in the Vietnam War. Okay, he was pretty old a little bit, and he served in the Vietnam War. And he told me he gets like benefits and all that stuff, right? But he said that it was real horrible, the Vietnam War, of everything they seen. I could imagine. So his head, it's not all there, and he even admitted it, and that's why he gets benefits from the Vietnam War. He's a vet. And he says that they come all messed up, and they have to go to therapy and so forth like that. But there's some that don't go to therapy. Maybe, they don't qualify for the benefits for some reason or something, and they literally go crazy. You know what I mean? They go insane. They lose their mind, and nobody's helping them. And it's unfortunate. He could have been one of those guys. And, but I don't know. I seen him, but I just kind of, ignored him, kind of, just doing my own thing. But there was this other guy. He was like this young millennial. He kind of looked a little bit buff. And you could tell he probably served the military because he went up to him and told him, "Excuse me, sir. Would you like some Pop Tarts?" But he said it in a very military voice that I turned around like, what? Like I looked at, he said it loud and he had a deep voice like he was in the military. But he was like a millennial, And I was like, oh, that was kind of nice of him, to go up to him and it was like a big old pack of Pop Tarts. It's not like the 6-pack, it was like a 24 pack of Pop Tarts. And he said, "Oh, thank you, man, ma'am, man, thank you, man." And he got he said, "God bless you," and he said, "Yeah, not a problem." And then he just kind of left, and he felt good about it, And I was like, "Oh, that was nice," like. And that probably, and I'm not saying that that would have never happened in Neptune Pisces, because with Neptune and Pisces, it was also very humanitarian, because Pisces is very compassionate. It's a compassionate sign, right? It always thinks about the underdog, too much that it puts itself last, right? But some people were just more, I think Neptune in Pisces was a little bit more selfish, it was more about celebrities. It was more about, you know, people were always high or drunk or something. So they didn't really care about humanity, really. But Aries is a leader, and so with Aries, it's more about military, it's about soldiers, it's about humanitarian, helping people. And being that hero, like, yeah, I was able, and not to show off, but it can be a little bit like that, where it wants to be famous. Aries is a sign of fame. For those that don't know, it's not only taking action and being like a soldier, like it's also fame. It rules fame is is the first house, so it's ruled by Mars and taking action, and in that action you become famous. So I seen that, and then I seen this other blonde lady that I thought that she had money or something. She was driving this really nice Mercedes, and she just got off and she bought him some chips, and she bought him some I'm stopping because I'm hearing downloads. I'm hearing something about sunflowers, having to buy sunflowers. Sunflowers is very the sun. It's interesting because today's word is the sun. Okay, I picked out a word before I started the podcast. It's the sun, and then it was, I forgot what other word was it. It was not the moon. It was well, the sun. So the sun has to do what's being illuminated, what's being highlighted, right? And so also this year, okay, because it's a one, it's ruled by the sun. So we're going to see a lot of that happening this year, where it's going to be a lot about initiation, a lot about taking action. The sun, it rules masculinity, okay? It rules like father figures and grandfathers and men and, husbands and so forth, and men in your life, right? And so that's the word I picked out, sun. But sunflowers, is ruled by Leo. So it's ruled by the sun, right? That's what called sunflowers. And so for some reason, I don't know, maybe that's coming down, sunflowers, to buy some sunflowers. So, and then this lady came and gave him water bottles and some chips. So he had plenty of food there, with him. And I thought, oh, that's nice. So it was, I looked at that, but it also taught me of, this new transit that is just happening for everybody, that's the frequency. And I'm so glad that I went out. I'm so glad I got out of the house and experienced this, and I got to see this, because there's one thing about talking about the astrology, and this is what it's like, and this is what it's going to be like, right? But until you step out and you see it for your eye, with your eyes, and you see the frequency of what's going, you're like, aha, okay, that's the frequency, right? And it's not that I don't believe in what I'm saying. Of course, I do believe in what I'm saying. Or else I would not be investing this much in the podcast, and doing it in 2 languages, right? Because I do believe in it. I do believe that it does make an impact, and it did make an impact when I was at Swellcast. when I was as well, because I mean, I did get 33,000 people that were watching it, and I was only there for about 2 years, and I didn't actually get consistent with it till probably the middle of the year or something, because at first I didn't know what to talk about, and I didn't want to run out of ideas. And that's when I said, I'm going to make it in the Astro Weather show. And so I continued that, and for people that want to know what the weather's going to be like in the astro, then they get to follow, the storytelling that I do as well, and so forth. And people can learn from that as well, because it is not the easiest thing to learn. But if you follow the podcast and you listen to it every time I'm talking, you will grasp and you will understand it, and you'll be like, that's what it is. And you can use it in your life. And you will understand more of when I talk about the planets, the alignments, and the degrees, and so forth, right? So, yeah, and so that's what happened, and I wanted to see it, in person, like what type of frequency. And so I was able to see it. That was Neptune Aries. That was Saturn in Aries. Okay. It is about leadership. It is about stepping up and helping the people that are less fortunate than you are. And it doesn't require a lot of money. I mean, they were not giving them like money. It was more about food, right? It was more about, having to be available for people that are less fortunate than you are, and just support them in some kind of way. It doesn't always have to be about money. It could be, maybe, hey, I'm gonna share your video, or I'm gonna share your podcast. I'm gonna tell my friend about your podcast. I'm gonna tell my community about your podcast or something. I always do that. If I, not every platform, but if I see something like a good video or something, I'll reshare it. And, I have quality eyeballs. So a lot of quality people see me, like powerful people. They watch me. So anything that I podcast or anything that I post, they have an eye on that. And usually what happens is they become famous, believe it or not. I have that ability because of my astrology, because I have Mars square Uranus. So it's the one hit wonder, and it's not just for me, it's also for other people. So if you just sharing something about them, can really make them celebrity like. Or a one hit wonder. They could be like discovered or something like that. And I have that because of my chart. So anyway, let's jump in here in what is going on here. First of all, the moon is, let me actually refresh it, because it's at its last degrees, the moon in Capricorn, okay? Yeah, it is at 28 degrees right now of ancestry, of real estate, of families, and so forth. And that is where the moon is. It's about to wrap up. Okay. So it's interesting that the moon in Capricorn is on Valentine's Day, right? And so, but what I like about the energy is that it was predicted that on Valentine's, because the moon's in Capricorn, we were going to expect like expensive presents. It was more about quality, and, there were some people that were going to, not like their presents, and I was just joking on there, as far as I had put on next, like, I'm going to tell my father, he didn't even buy roses, which is so weird. But maybe, it was just, I said, we don't want roses, me and my mom, and we're like, we don't want roses, we want money, right? Of course, it's just, I was just joking on that. But maybe I should tell him, hey, you didn't even buy roses, because he always does every year. But I get it. I'm not pushing him to buy anything that, that he can't afford or whatever. But it's weird because every year he does, every year he does. So, but usually he does it more on birthdays, though. On Valentine's, he's like, it's just a regular day, right? It is a Saturday, so it's ruled by Saturn. So there could be this restriction also with like, it's not, usually, I don't know what it is about today, because also, I normally buy cake, and I was going to go and buy it, but then it started getting dark, And I was like, oh no, I'm not. And but usually me, I'm like, I don't care. I'm still gonna go. You know what I mean? But today, I don't know. There was just something that was holding me back. Like, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like, just stay home. Just do the podcast or something like that. But there's this favorite cake that me and my mom love. Right? It's made out of fruit. It's kind of like the Hawaiian's Kings. For those that know Hawaiian Kings cake, they're like these Hawaiian cakes, and they're made out of fruit. So there's this Hispanic market that they sell those type of cakes. Not exactly Hawaiian King's cake, but similar to it, and um, it doesn't taste too sugary. You know what I mean? It's not very sugary. It's just it has fruit and stuff like that, and it's just fluffy bread. And every year I buy that cake. I buy that cake for Valentine's, and for some reason this year I didn't. So I don't know, something was holding me back to just stay home, and podcasts, which I need to do. Actually, I have a lot to do with social media stuff. Um, well, not really so much social. Well, yeah, I guess you do. I'm still working on the website, which it doesn't take a lot, but I've been stalling a little bit on that. So it's just my body has been a little bit tired. Um, Saturn got off Pisces for the past 3 years, and it was, geez, it's like if we were like in jail. And now it's off of us, and for some reason, I feel more light. I feel more like, okay, now I could lose weight. Because what Saturn does, it helps. What Saturn does, and not that it helps you, but you will attract more of a gaining weight. Okay, you'll be gaining weight when Saturn is on you, because if you think of it, of Saturn sitting on you, and Saturn would be like metal. It would be like, uh, you know, like tonnage of metal, like just sitting on you, and you're trying to lift yourself up and you can't. It's kind of like if some weights fall on you or something, at the gym or something, and you're trying to lift yourself back up, and something like that. Okay, that would be Saturn when it has a stronghold on you, because it's trying to teach you something so you can grow, right? And a lot of times it comes from uncomfortable circumstances, but it's off Pisces now. Okay, so it's not going to return until 33 years. That's a long time. So we are free as a bird. Okay, and I feel more lighter. I feel like I'm losing weight. I am taking this supplement. It's like a powder juice, and it's working really well for me. And so it's helping me to lose weight and so forth. And I am noticing like my face getting a little bit thinner and so forth. And so, but we'll see where that goes, because usually products don't really last on me for a long time. A lot of it has to do with my moon. But anyway, so those are the things that are going on. And so Saturn is off of us, and I feel a little bit more lighter, and I think also I didn't buy the cake because the supplement I'm taking, it curves the sweets, which is good. So if I go to the store and if I'm buying some kind of food or something, usually you'll see the chocolate aisle, you'll see the Snickers and the Milky Ways and all that. And I'm proud to say that I could be in the line paying and I don't have to grab a Snicker bar. And before I did, I would just, or maybe a little Mexican candy or something. And now I don't. And it just doesn't give me the urge to buy sweets. So I know that the powder drink is working because it curbs the sweetness. It helps you to make the right choices when it comes to food. And instead of eating that, maybe you can just eat some sweet fruit or something, like kiwis. I love kiwis. And which I love, like that soury of the kiwi. I really love. And we have a bunch of nectarines and so forth. But those are the things that are going on. So now Pisces feels free. Okay, so we don't got Saturn no more. So with Saturn in Aries, it's more about like helping each other, becoming heroic, being the first one at achieving something. It's about achievement. Okay, it rules athletes, athletes. Talking about athletes, and I hadn't even drank. I'm not even drinking. I'm drinking here some orange juice. It's not even beer or nothing. So anyway, it rules athletes, it rules sports, it rules all of that, and so we're going to be seeing a lot of that going on for the next 3 years because it's going straight. Um, Saturn in Aries is going all, throttle on the green light, and it's not stopping. So we're going to be seeing that, and Neptune's in Aries. Okay, so those are the two new cycles that have entered. And let me look at, we have this cluster in Pisces. Okay, so we got the North Node in Pisces, we got Mercury in Pisces that just entered as well. So our communication can be very, not so much analytical, more emotional, more intuitive, more psychic. You might hear downloads, you might dream a whole lot more, especially if you have somewhere Pisces in your chart. um, and prophecy, like they must be like prophetic dreams. Okay, so I would suggest maybe get yourself a book and have it by your bedside, and if you wake up and just write down your dreams, then you can look at them, months later and say like, oh my gosh, that happened. Or I dreamt about this and there's something similar to it. um, Another thing too here is that we have Pallas. There's an asteroid here of strategy that is also in the sign of Pisces. Okay. And it has to do with your community at 6 degrees. It has to also do with your health. Okay. So there could be a whole lot more Pisces that are trying to get healthy and are trying to consume more healthy products, maybe like powder, collagen, all of that. Many, many products out there that you can try. And then we got Venus and Pisces. Okay. Venus and Pisces right now is elevated. Okay. Well, Venus and Pisces is exalted. Okay. So when it's exalted there, that means that Venus loves Pisces in there. I was born with Venus and Pisces. And it's exalted, so it's elevated. And right now, especially right now, because it's at 5 degrees, a Leo. Okay. So it's about fame, it's about royalty. So right now, there could be a lot of themes when it comes to love about royalty, uh, near the water, because Pisces rules like the ocean and the lakes and the beaches and so forth. Um, and also fame. Okay. And there is there's this asteroid called beer, and yes, it has to do with beer. Okay, I don't know, I had it in here just for fun, um, and just interesting to do a strategy and look at analytics and stuff like that. And so this asteroid of beer is coming together exactly at 5 degrees with Venus. Okay. So Venus and beer is coming together. And this is why I love to work with asteroids. Okay. I love to work with asteroids because there's things here that, let's say, beer brands, right, that they're not aware of, and a lot of astrologers do not use asteroids like I do. Okay. They'll use maybe some, I'm not going to say not all of them. Some do, but the majority of them don't use asteroids like this. Okay. They just don't. I do. I'm an asteroid freak. Okay. I love it. It has a lot of Jupiter, a lot of fire, and it matters because it has fire, right? So it's actionable and it's going to do something, right? And so that's, if I could include more, I probably would, but I'm at my limit here. And I got enough, more than enough though. But I'll delete some of them that I don't need anymore and then add different ones and stuff. But it's good to know, especially, let's say you own a beer brand, and you might not know that Venus and beer are coming together exactly at 5 degrees of Leo. So that means that a lot of these beer, if you notice, like Modelo beer, I think they have a lion on there with the little crown and stuff like that. And there's a lot of beers with lions on them. Okay, I don't is what is that other beer? I don't know if it's Stella Storis or something. I don't know if it has a lion on there. I know Modelo beer does, but I've seen other beer cans also that have lions on there. So it's interesting because when beer and Venus come together, um, at the 5 degree of Leo, right? It could be like royalty beer. It could be, doing some marketing with lions or something like that, or just have the beer be elevated, right? So when you align yourself with that frequency, you can make more money for your beer brand, for an example, right? And just be creative with it. But a lot of brands don't, they don't follow that. They don't know, right? And so this is why I'm over here talking about it, right? So I suggest every beer brand follows me. Because this is just an idea of like, aha, since it's coming together exactly at 5 degrees, so Leo, with Venus and this beer brand, it a really great time for them to do something to do with like beauty and elevation, and maybe having like a Modelo near the beach, like Corona does. If you notice the ads for Corona beer, they had like a bunch of Coronas like in the beach, like if they're in Cancun or something. And this is why you see a lot of people buying beer, or they have like fish taco places near beaches, and they sell buckets and buckets of Coronas, right? Because it denotes the beach and so forth. So it's interesting when you look at campaign work with marketing and how they come up with that. And a lot of them follow astrology, but they don't follow all these asteroids. Okay. And so anyway, so that's all we have in Pisces. We have that strategy of Palace. We got Venus. We got the North Node. We got, I did mention the beer, right? And then there's this important star that I wanted to talk about, which is Formahal. Okay. And this is a star. Formahal is a star of, it's a dangerous star, pretty much, It carries gaseous, like gas, nuclear, and all that stuff. So it can be pretty dangerous. It brings transformation. Think of Pluto energy. It's similar to Pluto. So it can bring unexpected change. Also Uranus. It can bring unexpected change, this star. So unexpected things can happen with this star that you don't see coming. I honestly feel, and this is just my interpretation, that the fires that happened in Los Angeles in January of 2025 had to do with this star. Okay, because I looked at the chart and this star was active when the fires happened. And if you notice, when those fires were happening, it had to do a lot with like nuclear, and things were being thrown up in the air and they didn't know where it was coming from, and they looked like they were stars, but it was lightning, and people thought, they were doing it on purpose. And I was like, well, who's doing that on purpose? There was many stories of like how the fire started, because it was really a heavy fire. It was unexpected, and there were a lot of sparks, happening from the air, and it's like, where are they coming from? As if somebody was throwing those sparks, but it's like, who's throwing them though? And nobody was able to tell, and that, I feel, came from the sky. I feel it had to do with this formahawk that came unexpected, right? And I looked at the chart and it was active. It was aligning with, I can't remember what planet. I don't know if it was Pluto or Uranus. It was something like that. And yeah, it was intense, right? So what I'm looking at now is that this 4 degree, it's at 4 degrees. So the 4 degree, it's a little bit controlled, the degree. It's not too wild like a 1, right? If it's a 1 degree, it's Aries. So it's uncontrollable. But when it's a 4, there's a little bit of control on there. But still, it is conjuncting the North Node. It's actually, because the North Node is now at 8 degrees. It was at 9, and now it went to 8 degrees. So that's important. The degrees are very important. 8 degrees is transformation, is ending, is loss. It could be big wealth as well, right? Especially if you learn your lessons and you did all the work, and now here's that 8 degree that you can come into money, right? With the North Node. And so it's just by 4 degrees apart from this dangerous star here, that's called Formaha, right? There's nothing to fear or nothing like that. Okay, it is 4 degrees apart. Is pretty close. Okay, 4 degrees apart is very close, and it's getting closer. Once the North Node goes to that 4 degree, it's going to be exact, and that's when to keep an eye on the oceans and the beach, and just make sure that there's protection around and so forth. There's nothing to have anxiety or nothing like that, but do just watch the oceans and the beaches and your surroundings and where you are around. um, I have heard in YouTube, there's this one lady, she's from Australia, she's a psychic lady. She predicts a lot of things that have come to pass. And what she said she's seen was that there was ships that were going to sink. Okay, there were going to be sinking ships, and I feel it has to do with this star here. Okay, because this star in the sign of Pisces, that has to do with the ocean. So right now, cruise ships, I wouldn't take that ride. Okay, I would not buy the ticket and go on a cruise ship or nothing like that. But she did predict that there was going to be sinking ships. There's been a lot of bites from sharks in Australia, and she predicted that as well. And I think there was like four sharks that no, there were four people that were bitten by sharks in Australia, in the waters of Australia. So I guess they have a lot of sharks down there. And she had predicted that. And then also the freezing in Japan. She had predicted that as well, and that also happened. And so now she's talking about these ships that are sinking in the water. Um, Ferry. She mentioned something about ferries. So, it's interesting. And when I look at the astrology, I'm like, it has to be the star. There could be some malfunction, with the ferries or the ships or something like that, kind of like the Titanic, because that is exactly what happened to the Titanic. Okay, there was malfunction um, in in the engine of the Titanic, where there were sparks already coming out and fire was coming out, and nobody knew. And there was a lot of sparks. I wouldn't be surprised if if this star, this dangerous star, was traveling somewhere, because it was traveling in the waters, and there was Pisces that was transiting during the Titanic. Aries also, there was miscommunication. It was like a Mercury retrograde. I'm not going to go over all the chart, but I did see the Titanic chart, and I was like, wow. If I would have seen that chart, I would say, there is no way I'm hopping on that big boat, big ship. So this is why it's important. Charts are very important. So I mean, I'm not going to predict that ships are going to go down or nothing like that. But if you are planning on making a trip or something, I would wait until we close out the North Node. It's almost closing out. I mean, it's at 8 degrees. It closes out at 0 degrees. So, and then Aquarius is going to enter there, you know. But we have a lot of Pisces going on right now, and the only thing I don't like is that the star of Formaha is sitting right there, okay? And so some unexpected change can happen, like near the oceans, near the water. Maybe you're traveling on a cruise ship, something on it. We know what happens in those cruise ships, right? I'm not trying to down them or anything, or destroy their ships and their Princess Caribbean, but we know what happens. I've seen some people that talk about when they come out from the cruise, they end up sick. Like they went there normal and then they caught something, and now they have like a sore throat, or they're not feeling too good. they caught something in the cruise. So, and that's if you're lucky, even if you make it. There's some people that die, or they jump off the boat or something. I don't know, there's some crazy stories. I've never been on a cruise ship, and I have no interest in going in one. I just don't. But you know, so anyway, so that's what's happening as far as Pisces goes. Right now it's, just keep an eye, because that star is transiting there, with Venus as well. You know, but there, that strategic palace is there as well, at 6 degrees of your health. Okay. So there's something about strategy, about health, about your community, your environment. It could be like having to clean, your space, your environment. I've been doing a lot of that. And so, yeah. So another thing too, let's look at what is happening right now with the moon. It's trining Uranus. Okay. So it's trining Uranus in Taurus. And let me click on there. It's yes, in the eighth house of transformation. Okay, so where we have Uranus and Taurus, in the eighth house of we have. Okay, so it has anything to do with financial, moral, spiritual, and physical support that you receive from other people. It encompasses legacies and trust and wills and taxes, insurance matters. Okay, which is so interesting because my dad got he got a, not a birthday card. It kind of seemed like a happy sunny card. It's like, we're just checking up on you, making sure everything's okay. Call us if you need to book an appointment for a physical or something. And it had a big old sun on there. And it's so, and then the sticker that they have, they put a crown, a gold crown, on the sticker on there, on the envelope. So, and it was from his insurance company, which is interesting, right? Because it's what's happening here. This is that Uranus in Taurus, in the eighth house of taxes, insurances, and all of that. And this is his transit. He was born with Uranus in Taurus. So, it's aligned with him, and the moon in Capricorn, okay, is getting along well, at a degree of ancestors, okay, is getting very well with Uranus and Taurus. So what that's saying is that you need to innovate, and you need to step out of your comfort zone, and you need to do things differently, right? Because it's in harmony. And even though things might be stagnant, if you feel you're stagnant right now, or things are just kind of moving too slow, and also it could be because the moon is in Capricorn, it moves pretty slow. It's not like Aquarius, right? Once it moves into Aquarius, which is going to move into Aquarius pretty soon, we're going to feel more rebellious. We're going to feel like having to do things more faster, where there's no rules, right? So, so that's what's happening there with that trine with Uranus. And it's about doing things different, right? Not being afraid to do things differently, which my cover here, that I created, I was feeling very artistic. And I think I'm in my Uranus and Taurus there, where I was feeling artistic. And I'm like, let me just do it a little bit different, Everybody's doing AI. Everybody's trying to, stand out in different ways in their thumbnails. So I said, let me do something different. I was feeling very creative, right? Today on Valentine's. So there could be some creativity for everybody there, where maybe you want to be a little bit creative, step out of your comfort zone, anything like that. Let's see here. We do have here, there's a square here. Okay. The moon in Capricorn right now is squaring Libra, part of fortune. Okay. It's at 27 degrees of communication. Okay. And so, you know, actually, no, 27 degree, 28 is the ancestor. Um, yes, it is communication. For some reason, I don't know why I was getting the numbers wrong. It's because there's just so, I already know the degrees by memory. So sometimes, I don't know. I'm just dealing with a lot of stuff right now with other things. So I'm like, is it? Yeah, it is. So 27 degrees of communication. Okay. It is making a square with, I don't know why Germany's coming down. The download of Germany is coming down. I don't know why. Um, so the moon in Capricorn is making a challenge with part of fortune in Libra. Okay. At the degree of communication. So, by making a challenge to fortune in Libra, let me check what house it's in, though I could get more information. It's in the second house of wealth, okay, in the second house of banks, and on top of it, it's in the lot of fortune. I don't know why I'm thinking Gavin Newsom. I don't know why I'm thinking of Gavin Newsom. He's a Libra. Taking pictures with Bad Bunny. So there's something here about the moon in Capricorn that is making a square, a challenge to the part of fortune in Libra and their fortune that has to do with wealth. It also has to do with some sort of communication in social media. So it could be something like that. Maybe they've said something. And, when you look at the moon in Capricorn, that has to do with elites, that has to do with people with big money at an ancestor degree. Okay. So it's challenging their money in some kind of way because, we know Libra and Capricorn, they square each other. But there's something to do probably with politics, with ancestors, and then it has to do with some sort of communication from a Libra. So it just depends. It depends, in every person, wherever you have Libra, maybe you said some things or but it's already about to wrap up. The moon in Capricorn is about to go. It just needs one more degree, and and it wraps up. So I would think by tonight. So when we wake up in the morning, the moon's going to be in Aquarius, and then we're going to feel rebellious, and then now it's going to get along with Libra because it's air. So what the moon also these are just those are just, let me look at what asteroid is this. Gold. Okay, I did want to talk about this. Gold just entered the sign of Cancer and it was in Leo. Okay. And now it's in Cancer, the sign of families and children and babies and real estate. Okay. Love and marriages and so forth, and beauty as well. And so that's where gold is now. Okay. So it's no longer in Leo. And for those that invest in gold, okay, that's where it's at. It might be, it could also mean even if you don't invest in Wall Street, it could be you invest in a family member, in a child or something like that. And you're investing like quality, you're investing things that matter, things that are valuable, like gold. Gold is very valuable. So there might be some items that you might be investing when it comes to children. And it's at 29 degrees right now. So it's starting at a late degree and then it goes 28, 27, 26 until it reaches up to 1. And then it moves out of Cancer and then it's going to go into Gemini, you know. But for right now, it's in Cancer. It just entered Cancer. And 29 degrees is a degree of Leo. So it's very royalty right now. Okay, gold is very royalty, is Cancer Leo. Okay. So it has to do, if you come from a lineage of families of royalty, right? It matters a lot right now when it comes to gold. I'm actually wearing I was wearing a gold blouse, and I have some gold makeup on. I put some eyeshadow on. I bought some the Trophy Wife from Fenty, and I love that color because it's very bright, very shiny and stuff. And so I wear that. And so it's very important, to align, with royalty, align right now for families to align yourself with, maybe wear a little bit of gold color, or, what I've been doing, which is the irony, because I didn't even know that it had just entered Cancer, because I haven't really been doing the astro weather consistently like I should, but I'm going to start doing that, now. I just need to, you know, fix things that I need to fix, and then, we're good. I actually wanted Saturn to enter Aries. I didn't want the whole Pisces and then Aries, and I wanted to be full throttle in Aries. Okay. And then now we start initiation, we start this new beginning, and now, go consistently, right? And I'm preparing all of this because the year of the horse is about to enter on the 17th. And I want to prepare for that as well, where I don't have to be like, okay, I need to do this. And then the horse entered, right? And then it's going to delay me because I already know the fire horse, once it enters, things are going to move fast, right? So you want to be prepared before the fire horse enters. So then you can go running the races, right? Like a horse. And so right now is good to just, wrap things up, finish things up, and get ready for the horse. It's like you're getting ready to race. And so you want to make sure you have your tennis shoes, you want to make sure you have your bib, you want to make sure you have, everything, together, your lotions, your creams, and your water bottles and everything, so that when the horse enters, you're ready to run the race, right? And that's what I'm doing right now. So this is why I haven't done the podcast. If not, I would be doing it every day. So I do it, right now I'm able to do it because, it is Valentine's Day, and, you know, what better way not to do it, right? And so what's going on is that because gold is here, is a good time. Oh, and what did want to talk about is that I've been using powder gold on my coffee, and I didn't even know that Cancer went into gold. I thought it was still in Leo, until I looked at it. I was like, oh wow, it entered Cancer. So I have this powdery. You put it on your coffee, and then you swirl it around, and then your coffee looks like gold. It looks very shimmery. It looks very expensive, and it tastes better for some reason. I think it has a little bit of taste of like vanilla or something like that. It tastes a little bit sweet, and but you put it on the coffee and you swirl it around, and then you drink it, and it just looks so fancy. It looks so royal. I love my coffee drinking it like that now. So that's what I do. And that's very gold, very it's edible gold, and that's very gold here with Cancer, which also has to do with food, the things that you eat. You'll probably start seeing that could be another trend that can happen, okay? Because gold just entered Cancer, and we know Cancer, rules families, but it also rules, the food we eat, right? And because the Cancer, the stomach area, cancers are known for eating a lot of food. Um, their stomach area, it's they eat a lot, right? And so, that's another thing too, that a lot of food can also it could trend like gold cupcakes, or gold coffee, or anything like that, to be aligned with the gold in Cancer. It could also be real estate. Real estate might be valuable. Okay, it might raise in value. So watch out for that as well. Children as well. So protect your children. Um, and not be so overprotective either, but do protect your children. Because they're considered valuable. And we know what's been happening, the whole mess, with the Epstein and stuff. And you just gotta take care of your children. You really do. I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody, but or nothing like that, because I don't have children myself. But you have to be protective of your children. You just can't be lending them everywhere. You just can't. So another thing too here. Let's see, what else do we got with the moon? There is so that's very important. The Cancer in gold, okay, that just entered. Right now, the moon is conjuncting Pluto, okay. So there's this deep analyzing, deep mystery. Like we're going deep, okay, when it comes to ancestors and so forth. Pluto just jumped into 4 degrees, and it's the degree of ancestors. Is the degree of families, degrees of real estate. Okay, and when the moon and Pluto come together, there's this knowing. Okay, is deep psychological knowing, like you can't bullshit me. Okay, like I know the truth, or I know this. You know what I mean? You're not going to trick me or nothing like that. And so where let me look at what house Pluto is at. It is in the fifth house of children. Okay, in the fifth house of life, in the fifth house of I express myself. Okay, it has to do with hobbies, also sports, gambling, amusement parks, pleasures. I did get the download today of Disneyland. I was putting makeup in the bathroom because I was getting ready so I could do a thumbnail, you know, and I wanted to get ready and so forth. And then I heard Disneyland as I was putting my makeup on in the mirror. And then I heard the Disneyland song of "Be My Guest, Be My Guest," da na 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 na, and it's the I think it's Beauty and the Beast or something like that. And I've never been to the. I would love to go there. God, I can't remember last time I was in Disneyland. It was years ago. And I used to go a lot to downtown Disney, just to go to Sephora. And I had a friend named Garden Grove, and we used to do that almost every week. Oh my gosh. Every time I used to go to Orange County, we used to go to downtown Disney, go buy some makeup, walk around, buy some burritos, and right outside in the restaurants out there. And that was our fun time. We always used to go there. And, but entering Disneyland. I think we entered Disneyland a couple of times because she even had like the Disney passport. And she's a Sagittarius, so Sagittarius love Disneyland. And so I love Disneyland too, don't get me wrong. I love Disneyland. It's the place to go, if you're feeling depressed, you're feeling sad or something, or you're bored or something, you go to Disneyland, all of a sudden you have fun. But I don't think I've ever been inside the castle of Beauty and the Beast. And I was looking at some videos in TikTok, and they show like you could have dinner in there, and they do the whole entertainment of Beauty and the Beast and so forth. And I didn't know they had that. I was like, wow, that's interesting. But I did hear that song of "Be My Guest, Be My Guest." So I was like, what does that mean? Because that song, it just kept coming down. And then I heard Disneyland. And so I don't know, maybe I might be going to Disneyland soon. I don't know. Or maybe I might be moving to a castle. I don't know. But right now, with all this Pisces, with Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Pisces of imagination and dreams, and never ever forget about your imagination. Never ever lose that woo woo. But some people might think, oh God, like she's too in her imagination. Well, that's how it starts, right? You got to imagine, right? This is why we do vision boards. We do vision boards so they can come to pass, so they can become reality. We look at the pictures every day and we make it real. But it first starts with imagination, right? And so I don't know why that song came down. It'll be my guest. Maybe somebody wants me to be their guest or something. I don't know. But it's just, for me, I was like, oh, wow. And so the song was catchy in my bathroom, which is spiritual. Okay. My bathroom is very spiritual, because it's my wealth sector in Feng Shui. And I have it decorated. I have like this big old lion on there, a gold lion on there. Okay. Because I have the fourth house in Leo. So when you have fourth house in Leo, your house has to look like a lion. It has to be like, those houses that have a bunch of lions everywhere and stuff. Well, it's not to show off, but I do have to have lions in my house. And so I have a big lion in my bathroom because that's my wealth sector. So he protects my money. So yeah, I seen this big old lion, and I bought it. I seen it at Ross, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this lion. It was just calling me. So I bought it. Um, and so, it's interesting talking about lions. Isn't Beauty and the Beast, that big old beast, isn't he a lion? He looks like a lion. Um, and so he has this big old like beard and this big old, he's like this big, I don't know what he is, but he's supposed to be like a beauty. He's supposed to be a beast, right? And Bella, I think that she's this poor beauty girl, and then she becomes rich. She's like that rags to riches. But I don't know what that big beast has anything to do with. Like, does she not know that she's in love with the beast or something? I don't know what it is. But I'm like, wake up, Bella. He's a beast. So anyway, so um yeah, I just don't know why. I might go to Disneyland though. I might. So Pluto, so Moon and Pluto right now, there's this deep analyzing that's happening. Um, Pluto is what is this? Oh yeah, Pluto is squaring Abundancia in Taurus. Okay, so there's this abundance in Taurus. Okay, it might be food, it might be supermarkets, it might be it's exactly maybe what was happening today. Okay, because Pluto is what takes out. Okay, Pluto can be transformative, and it can eliminate, it can take out, it rules thieves, and it rules like hackers and all of that, especially in Aquarius. So I would suggest a VPN. Okay. I have a VPN. I got my VPN back again. I wasn't gonna reinstate it, but I reinstated it again because I'm like, I need a VPN. So Pluto, and weird things have been happening without the VPN. Okay, I've even got texts, like texts, from like scammers and spammers, and something about, oh, you have a UPS package, click on here, and then it turns out it's some kind of bogus number. And I didn't have those type of texts on my phone when I have VPN. The VPN would like, it wouldn't let them, text me, and so it blocks them. That's what VPN does. It blocks it. So, I said, oh, I got to get a VPN and back again because it expired. I had it for a whole year and I didn't think I needed it. And oh, yeah, I need it because I'm like, why are they sending me the spam? And I don't like that, when they're sending me like fake texts to click on here, and then, that's where they get you, and then you start seeing all kinds of weird stuff in your bank activity and all that. So I said, I need my VPN. So Pluto in Aquarius can rule that, okay? But there's this control with 4 degrees. It's some kind of control there. But it is squaring Abundancia in Taurus. So Abundancia, this asteroid in Taurus, is at 1 degree of Aries. It's about taking action. So there could be a little bit of abundance. And an example that I can give for that is today, where I was going to go buy the cake, right? Because Taurus has to do with food. And the 1 degree of Aries, it has to do with action. It has to do with traveling somewhere for that food, right? So for example, I was going to go and buy the cake, right? But then I thought about it and I'm like, if I buy the cake, I'm not even hungry. I don't even want the cake. I only wanted to get it for my mom. But then I said, I don't want it because then I'm gonna be eating little pieces of cake, and then I'm, you know, I don't want to mess up my nutrition plan because I'm under a nutrition plan as well. I just don't want to mess it up because I'm not allowed to be having too much cake and stuff like that. And I'm just doing what's best for me, and that's very Aries energy. It's also being heroic and helping other people, but it's also putting you first, right? And if you're going to sabotage some sort of nutrition plan because you bought a cake because it was Valentine's, and or you wanted to, you wanted, my mom can have all the cake, but she's not going to eat all the cake. You know what I mean? I most likely she's probably going to want to cut a cake for me, be like, oh, here, look, I brought you a little cake. I brought you a little piece of cake, and I'm like, oh, I can't eat cake. You know what I mean? And so, but she doesn't understand that, right? And so I'm just like, I'm just not going to buy the cake. So abundancia in Taurus is about an excess of food, an excess of like sweets and cakes and all of that, right? And it's making a challenge to Pluto in Aquarius, right? And so Pluto in Aquarius at 4 degrees of control, right? And so what Pluto in Aquarius is saying is control yourself. You know what I mean? You don't have to buy all those cakes. You don't have to buy all that sweet. Maybe if your mom wanted that, maybe you could buy her a little cupcake for her. You know what I mean? And just be like, and there was something that was holding me back, and it could be that Aquarius and Pluto that was holding me back, and it was like, you don't want cake. Where are you going to go buy cake? You know what I mean? And I was only going to do it for my mom. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I could go tomorrow and just buy her like some kind of cupcake for her, like a big cupcake for only for her. Because my mom, she's Taurus, she's in that abundancia, right? And I kind of feel a little bit bad because I didn't buy the cake. I'm like, oh, she looked at me like, you didn't buy cake, And I was like, no, I didn't. And I didn't tell her no, but I was just like, she knew I didn't buy cake. So it is a big deal, Taurus. But, I'll buy it for her tomorrow or something. But I did buy chocolates, I did buy Godiva chocolates and stuff like that. So, but with abundancia in Taurus, we can go overboard, or and what Aquarius and Pluto is saying, like, do you really need the cake? Do you really need to eat that? Like, you're not hungry, you don't want to buy it. And and so it's trying to help the abundancia in Taurus to control itself. And if you're not hungry, don't buy it. And if you want to it, or you can minimize it, because that cake that they sell, it's on sale, but it's really big. And it's only me and my mom, and my dad, he doesn't really eat that cake. So it would just go to waste, you know what I mean? And so, or most likely my mom will eat it all, little by little, little by little. But I don't want to be eating cake every day. You know what I mean? So that could be an example there where Pluto is cutting that off, and with that whole overindulgence of abundancia in the sign of Taurus, right? And it doesn't always have to be food. It could be real estate. It could be luxury. Like, do you need all that luxury? Do you really need a Louis Vuitton bag? And it's interesting because I seen in TikTok today of this influencer that was talking about a Louis Vuitton perfume, and I didn't even know they had perfumes. And it was the original Louis Vuitton perfume. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. So if because the purses, they cost a lot, right? And I said, well, I can buy me a perfume, it doesn't cost that much. So something to do with Louis Vuitton. So I was thinking of doing that. But I don't want to go overboard. You know what I mean? Like, it's what it's saying here. What Aquarius and Pluto is saying is don't go overboard. Because Abundancia and Taurus is like super overboard, super abundant. Like, it just you got a budget. You got to save. I mean, a lot of people right now, because we're all pivoting. We're all starting new cycles. we're all pivoting, we're all trying to rebrand, so we have to spend money into our brands, into our service, into our website, and so forth, so there's a lot of money that's going to be inputted into our brands and our products and how we want to market it. If we want to do a different color, if we want to, and so a lot of us are investing in that right now, where accumulating more doesn't make sense, and so that's what Aquarius and Pluto is saying, and so it'll cut something off, so for me, for today, I didn't go to buy the cake. I guess I'll go tomorrow. I didn't want to go also because it was getting dark, so I just said I'll just go tomorrow in the daytime and just buy my mom like a little cupcake, and just let her know that I don't want any, because I'm not really hungry to eat cake, though. For some reason I wasn't. I did spaghetti. I cooked spaghetti for both of us. I did salad, and we did a dinner thing, but yeah, I was not in the mood for cake for some reason. It could have been Pluto holding me back because it's on my Jupiter. So it's already over the top, so yeah. So that is what's going on here. For Valentine's, it's about, it is saying to innovate. It is coming together with Pluto, something we feel, some truth coming out. We feel some things have to be cut off and being overly abundant. Um, Also, it's about to wrap up, and Aquarius is going to go in there. But the moon right now, it is making an opportunity with Saturn, so that's a good thing. Saturn just in Aries, and it has to do with your local community in the sixth house, also with your health. Okay, so a lot of Saturn Aries, they might be hitting the gym. They might want to start eating more healthier, drinking juices, drinking a lot of water, anything like that. Okay. Also spicy food. Sometimes the spicy food is good for it's good for losing weight. Also, spicy food, opening your I think it's what does it do? It opens your something about the nose. What is it called? It opens your, I forgot. But it makes you slim down. Like cayenne pepper, you put it on your food and it helps you to slim down. So something about the sniffles or something respiratory or something like that. I don't know. But not anybody can take chili, especially if you have gut problems. So, just take it with a grain of salt, okay? Because spicy food is not for everybody. Um, so it just depends, So that's where we have Saturn and Aries is making an opportunity with the moon in Capricorn right now, and it has to do with health, being more healthy, and I'm just getting something, an evacuation warning in Los Angeles. Oh, severe weather. Um, so yeah, that is what's going on. So once by tomorrow, the moon's gonna go in Aquarius, and we're gonna start feeling more, taking more action, taking more chances. It's just that when the moon is in Capricorn, we're a little bit more held back because of Saturn. Saturn rules Capricorn, so we're more vintage, we're more traditional, we're more, we don't take as much chances. But once it's in Aquarius, we're going to be a little bit rebellious and want to break the rules and do get out of our comfort zones, which is good. I love Aquarius energy. Some people say it's very uh UFO and all of that, but I don't think so. I mean, it can be, it could be weird and bizarre and stuff, but I like the freedom of it, that it's about travel, experimentation, trying this, trying that. If that doesn't work, try this, try that, And yeah, very Steve Jobs too. So anyway, hope everybody is having a great day. I'm about to head out here and just read a book. I just bought me a book that It's a very great book, I believe. And I'm going to start reading it. I just got it and I've been wanting to open up and read it, but I just haven't had time. So I think that's what I'm going to do right now. Grab some tea and read my book. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do tonight. So I hope everybody is having a great day, and I will talk to you guys on the next episode. And if you enjoy the episode, do subscribe, do like, do tell your friends, because I'm just starting out here. And I will love your support to grow the podcast. And if you do like listening in Spanish, I also have a Spanish podcast where I've actually been podcasting more English than Spanish, and I need to be podcasting Spanish. Is very much in demand. But if you do enjoy Spanish, you can also head out to, it's called, well, I post it anyway on Facebook and X, but it's called El Astroclima Reloj Celestial. Okay, so it's the same as English, but it's in Spanish. So if you want to do that, you can head out and listen to it there. So I will talk to you guys soon. Good night.